supposed to be doing a bunch of work outside and getting some land cleared and everything, but instead we got rained out today. So I'm in just a kind of nasty, grungy work shirt. But anyways, I wanted to go over some of the inflation numbers that we're seeing. So if you guys have been paying attention recently, the Fed has put out several numbers. There's been a number of them. So we'll just say right around 6%. I've seen numbers that they've posted anywhere between about 5.2, 5.8, 5.9 to 6.4, somewhere in there. So we're going to say about 6% is what the Fed is saying for inflation. Now, a healthy economy should have between about 2 and 3% inflation, right? We all need some inflation. Makes your dollar feel more over time, hypothetically. Anyways, I shouldn't say that's what we need, but that's the theory of the government, is that they want some form of inflation. Now, this year has been catastrophic as far as the inflation numbers, but here's the interesting thing about this. The numbers that they're not taking into account when they post those is food, gas, and housing. They're leaving all those out, which those are like the predominant numbers to actually determine inflation. And here's a caveat with it. With inflation, the Fed can change the way that they calculate that and put out the inflation numbers, and they can change that at their will how they want to calculate it, because everything is weighted. And they'll say, hey, this year we're going to weight inflation, we're going to weight housing 30% of the inflation number, because housing is a large portion of our budget, and so we're going to weight that differently than we weight buying whatever widget at Walmart, new iPhone, whatever. They're going to weight housing and food differently, but they get to change that, so there's no standard. So when they say the inflation this year was comparable to last year because of X, Y, and Z reasons, you actually have to look and see how they calculated it, which that number is not particularly easy to find as far as what they're using to calculate it. Or maybe it is. Maybe I just don't know how to find it. So if somebody knows, please post it down in the comments. But to my knowledge, that number is not an easy one to find. It's not easy to find how they calculate it. But they change it all the time. So that's the problem, is that there's no set standard. The only way to find the true inflation is if they set a standard of, we're going to base inflation off of things that we know people are going to purchase every year. And food, gas, and housing should certainly be in those numbers. It's ridiculous that we don't include that. That to me is just a farce. So here's the actual inflation numbers. This is from Breitbart News, and I'll post the link to the article down below. Whole milk we're seeing at 6.6%, eggs 8%, bacon I'm sorry, 0.6% in bacon. I'm sorry, that's just for November. That's not annually. 21% annually for bacon. I was thinking that seems wrong. Breakfast sausage 12.9%. Oh, by the way, our small farm has not raised prices yet, so just keep that in mind. Muffins and biscuits got 6.6%. Coffee 7.5%. Apples 7.4%. There's only about 2 or 3 things on here that are actually less than 6%. Peanut butter 6.8%, baby food, which is a really important one, 6.7%. Baby food and formula are a great way to calculate inflation, and they should be kept separate almost from food, because formula is an absolute necessity, especially if you have problems breastfeeding or something like that. It creates a lot of issues. So you have to have that formula, and it's one of those things you just really can't substitute. Anyway, so these are the numbers from Breitbart News, and like I said, I'll post the article down below so y'all can see. But what it actually looks like our inflation calculation is closer to, I think, 7.9%. Depending on how you calculate it, it can be upwards of 12%. So the numbers that the Fed is giving us is only to make the Fed look good, basically, and look like they're doing their job and controlling things. They don't want the economy to look as bad as it really is. Guys, we're in a crash right now. We're spiraling down. Our dollar is becoming drastically less valuable, and that's going to continue as we continue to have more debt and more deficits, as we continue to give more free money to the economy. Those inflation numbers are just going to continue to rise. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going to get fixed. There's people say that we're going to go to negative rates. People say the Fed's going to raise the rates. There's people there's all sorts of different speculations about what the Fed can and cannot do, why they'll do it. Basically, I don't think the Fed's going to increase the interest rates simply because it looks bad politically, and no political party wants them to do it. And I don't think we have Feds with the balls to do it. So. And if they do it too abruptly, it can crash the housing market, which is another issue that you run into with it. So really, if they're going to do it, they have to do it little by little over a period of 36 or 48 months or something along those lines, which is going to make whatever political party is in power at the time look bad, even though that's the right thing to do. I wish the politics would just come out of it and they quit playing these stupid games and just allow us to have a decent inflation rate that actually is healthy for an economy, because we need a little bit of Fed interest for a healthy economy. There's different numbers on what makes a healthy economy and what interest rates should look like in a healthy economy. But a 1.2 interest rate or whatever, the current Fed interest rates, these are not healthy. These interest rates that are less than 3.5%, 4%, they're not particularly healthy interest rates for the Fed. So, guys, that is a whole complicated subject that takes people a lot smarter than I am to figure out exactly how the Fed works and all that. Economic Ninja's got a great channel. He does a lot on that stuff if you guys haven't seen his channel. But there's a lot of other channels, a lot more intelligent people that can talk about the banking and how all that stuff works. I am not qualified to speak on that. I'm telling you strictly from the user end of what we're seeing and what the actual numbers are. These are the actual numbers, and it doesn't really matter what the Fed puts out as the official inflation rate when we can go to the store and do the math and figure out what the actual inflation rate is that affects our pocketbook. That's the bigger problem, is they think they can trick us into thinking that we can't do some basic math. I know if I didn't receive a 10% raise last year, I took a hit. And most y'all did. And so those inflation rates, to put that in perspective, if you're a Dave Ramsey person, you got $10,000, $20,000 in a savings account sitting by, you lost somewhere between $1,000 to about $2,500 in value with that money sitting there. At least if you had it in gold, you retained some value of that, but you lost that value of that money sitting there. So just important to think about that. Cash, cash is king. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, so I'm all about that cash is king, and that is the way that we should be, as debt free as possible. But at the same time, you have to realize that that money sitting there is crippling you, and it's costing you. And he always says it's insurance, and so insurance costs you money. That is really substantial insurance right now. So you need to figure out a different way to store that money, to store that savings account. We personally put a lot of ours in gold and silver, just so that we have the ability to trade it out in the event of an emergency for a cash equivalent at the time that we need to. We keep operating costs for the farm in cash because we don't have any other option. I wish I could, but we just don't have any other option. Our emergency fund is on 4 legs out back, roaming around eating grass. So, that's where we store some of our value. So you have to have places that store value that compete with inflation or stay above inflation. So having the ability, things like real estate, hard assets, things that go up in value over time. So automobiles, they're not a great one, obviously, because they go down in value over time. Livestock does go up in value, and it tends to stay up with inflation. We have a savings account of hay out back, so we keep 6 months to a year of hay around at any given time. That's part of our savings account strategy. So guys, making sure that you have some type of savings account strategy that is not just cash in the bank, losing money year over year, and this year just hand over fist, just getting crushed with what the inflation rates are. It's going to get worse. Inflation rates this next year are going to be worse. I guarantee you the Fed is going to come out and they're going to say that the inflation rates for 2022 are going to be worse than what they were in 2021. It's simply because each year they can progressively make it worse, but they can't hit you with a 12% inflation rate all at once. That looks bad. That looks like we're going back to Carter era in the 1970s, and they don't want to do that. They want you to get this a little bit over time. That's why this year they posted a 6% inflation rate. Next year it's going to be 7 or 8%. I can almost guarantee it. So anyways, guys, I'll quit going on about the inflation rate stuff. I'll post this article down below so y'all can see the numbers for yourself. Breitbart did post an updated article I haven't got a chance to look at yet, with some more numbers on there, not contradicting this article, but just updating some numbers on there with some more detail. So we're going to probably post another video about that here, and I'll probably film that later today. So thanks again for watching. If you have not, please subscribe and like to the channel. Subscribe to the channel and like the video, I'm sorry. And jump over to Facebook. Instagram, we have both those over there. It's just Ironside Ranch LLC. There's already an Ironside Ranch in Australia, so we had to do Ironside Ranch LLC for everything. So anyways, y'all jump over there. Please like us on Facebook, like the Instagram page. Amanda Lynn's been spending some time trying to grow that here lately, so we just kicked that off, so we don't have many people on there yet. But like I said in the previous video, we are going to have a Patreon page coming up here soon, where we're going to go over a lot more stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube. Patreon allows us to be a little bit more free in the platform. Thanks again for watching, guys. Really appreciate it.